Good evening. I have a message, a two-part message I want to share with you all this evening. The last 2 weeks been battling allergies, at least that's what the doctor says, and I hope my voice will hold up for a few minutes. What I'd like to speak on this evening is take a few moments and look at what is a friend. What's being a friend to someone, appreciating your friends. According to Webster's New World Dictionary, a friend is a person whom one knows well and is fond of, an ally, a supporter, or a sympathizer. It is said that a saying that the Native Americans have for a friend is one who carries my sorrows on his back. I like that one. A British publication once offered a prize for the best definition of a friend. And among the thousands of answers received, here are a few of the following. A friend is one who multiplies joys, divides grief, and whose honesty is inviolable. A friend is one who understands our silence. A friend is a volume of sympathy bound in cloth. A friend is like a watch that beats for all time and never runs down. The winning definition read like this: a friend is the one who comes in when the whole world has gone out. A true friend laughs at your stories, even when they're not so good, and sympathizes with your troubles, even when they're not so bad. A true friend will see you through when others see that you are through. Can't help to think of Job's friends with that statement. A friend is a person who runs interference for you in your pursuit of happiness. Now, the Bible defines a friend as one who is as thine own soul. We look in 1 Samuel chapter 18. 1 Samuel chapter 18 and verse 1. And I'll be reading multiple verses if you'd like to follow along. And I'll be using the New King James except for one. 1 Samuel 18, chapter 1, verse 1, Now when he had finished speaking to Saul, the soul of Jonathan was knit to the soul of David. And Jonathan loved him as his own soul. David and Jonathan, a great biblical example of true friendship. Colossians 3, verses 12 and 13. Colossians 3, verses 12 and 13. Therefore, as the elect of God, holy and beloved, put on tender mercies, kindness, humility, meekness, long-suffering, bearing with one another and forgiving one another. If anyone has a complaint against another, even as Christ forgave you, so you also must do. Bearing with one another and forgiving one another. A friend will do that for you. 1 Corinthians 15, verse 33. 1 Corinthians 15, 33 reads, Do not be deceived. Evil company corrupts good habits. That is so true. The company you keep, really at any age in your life, can have such an effect, influence on you. Ecclesiastes chapter 4, verse 10. Ecclesiastes chapter 4, verse 10 says, "For if they fall, one will lift up his companion. But woe to him who is alone when he falls, for he has no one to help him up." I mentioned Job a moment ago. Job chapter 6, verse 14. "He who withholds kindness from a friend forsakes the fear of the Almighty." That one's taken from the ESV. In Proverbs 16, verse 28, Proverbs 16:28 says, "A perverse man sows strife, and a whisper separates the best of friends." What can come between the best of friends? It could be money. It could be another boy, another girl, another man or woman. Could be someone who's trying to get between you and your friend. A whisper can separate the best of friends. And the last one regarding friends, in John chapter 15, verses 12 and 13. John 15, verses 12 and 13. "This is my commandment, that you love one another as I have loved you. Greater love has no one than this, than to lay down one's life for his friends." We need to be thankful for our friends. I've heard for many years that your true friends, your greatest friends someone has, you can count them on one hand, maybe only a couple fingers. Someone that you can really, truly lean upon, confide in. Be thankful for those true friends and be a good friend to others. In a movie I once saw, there was a line about how this man, his friend was really in trouble, was in a life and death situation, and he wanted to help. And the other person said, "Well, don't worry, he has plenty of friends." And then that man said, "Well, I don't." He was concerned about the friend he had. Noah's going to come up and lead a couple songs, and then want to take a moment to look at family. First, we took a look at what is a friend, what's involved in being a friend. Now I want to look at what is family. The family is a creation of God. If we turn to Genesis chapter 2, Genesis 2, verses 21 through 24. Genesis 2, verses 21 through 24. "And the Lord God caused a deep sleep to fall upon Adam, and he slept. And he took one of his ribs, and he closed up the flesh in its place. Then the rib which the Lord God had taken from man, he made into a woman, and he brought her to the man. And Adam said, 'This is now bone of my bones, flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman, because she was taken out of man. Therefore a man shall leave his father and his mother, and be joined to his wife, and they shall become one flesh.'" In the beginning, family was part of God's plan. According to Webster's New World Dictionary, family is defined as a household. Parents and their children, relatives, all those descended from a common ancestor, a lineage, a group of similar or related things. Family is also is known as being a unit composed of not only children, but of men, women, an occasional animal, and the common cold. A family is also could be looked at as a form of government, where the father is the chief executive and the mother is the Speaker of the House. A family is where the father does the providing, the mother the deciding, and the children the overriding. A household is a battleground where the children always triumph unless both parents unite to defend themselves. The family is the thing most needed in the home today. I agree with that. Now, the family being the most needed thing, we may say maybe the most needed thing would be the presence of God, the reverence of God, fearing God and keeping His commandments, showing the love of Christ in your household, and that love being expressed toward others. Maybe we can say that may be the most needed thing. Family is very important. The family is so great and so precious that it is used as a symbol of the church. If we look at Ephesians chapter 2, verse 19. Now, therefore, you are no longer strangers and foreigners, but fellow citizens with the saints and members of the household of God. The household of God, the family of God. Galatians chapter 6, verse 10. Galatians 6, verse 10, we read, "Therefore, as we have opportunity, let us do good to all, especially to those who are the household of faith." God's household, His family. Also in Galatians chapter 6, back up a few verses to verses 1 and 2. "Brethren, if a man is overtaken in any trespass, you who are spiritual restore such a one in a spirit of gentleness, considering yourself, lest you also be tempted. Bear one another's burdens, and so fulfill the law of Christ." One of the definitions we looked at earlier of a friend was one who bears my sorrows on his back, being there for one another. Your family is going to be there for you. In the middle school class this morning, I told them about a teacher of mine when I was in early high school taught auto mechanics. And what I learned in auto mechanics was that I did not want to be an auto mechanic. Very dirty, hot, very hard. I learned I want to do something else. But I was appreciative of those 2 years that I spent there. And very appreciative of my teacher, Mr. Lohman was his name. And what I remember from that class, not more about mechanics, but a couple things he said. One he told us was always reminding us as young teenage boys, and one girl in that class, was to appreciate your life and don't take it for granted. He would always say, when you put your shoes on in the morning, you don't know who's going to take your shoes off of you. Life is fragile. And the other thing he said, talking about family, is no one loves you like your parents, and appreciate them, and don't take them for granted. No one's going to love you like they do. In this building tonight, we're surrounded by our friends, and we're very thankful for that, because our friends care for us. We know we can depend on each other. Also in this building, you may be surrounded by your immediate family. We know they love you and care for you and would do anything for you like none other. You also have your church family right here with you tonight. This family also cares for you, willing to share your burdens, willing just to listen, offer you encouragement, most of all, pray for you. At this time tonight, if you have any need, if you need prayers of the church, if you have burdens that you feel you need to share, your friends and your families here, please come as we stand and sing.